module, hoping that you are all there. So we've got the third recording of today. Again, be aware that we are recording this and that if you don't want to be recorded, you can step out of the training and you can watch the recording later, of course. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. You should be able to see my screen. If not, please let me know through the chat. What I'm going to talk about now is managing orders. The last module was about creating the product. Now we're looking at orders. Next story will be the payments, etc., but that will be on Wednesday. Let me connect to my slide deck. So we've got, again, an agenda for the module. We're first going to define the concepts. This is the last module that I'll do, by the way. If I end earlier than 5 o'clock, it's no use to overfeed you with information or have a partial, that small partial module. If we need to end halfway this module, which I don't think, I will finish it up on Wednesday. But first, we're going to look at the concepts again. Little bit of terminology. Then we're going to look at the workspace, and I'm going to do a little demonstration again. So the concepts first. I hope that by now you have figured out the order of our modules. We first talk about, okay, what are we discussing in this module? Then we're going to look at terminology, theory behind things, and then we're going to actually look at how it looks in the platform itself. And we've seen this. Again, this is that same slide we started the previous module with. We have done service creation in our previous module, and that means that now we're ready to start doing that order process, to look at what the orders look like, where can you find it, what information can you find in it, etc., etc. So what is an order? Well, an order is a request from the customer to the seller related to a product or a service. And it's that generic because we can have a sales order. Simply means that the customer wants the vendor or the distributor, actually, the distributor to sell a service. That could be a change order. That could be a cancellation order, right? So an order is that request from the customer to the reseller or the distributor. Like I said, there are different types of orders. The key one is a sales order. That is where things start. From a definition perspective, a sales order is an official confirmation of a buyer's intent to purchase from a vendor. It's a buyer-issued document that confirms certain aspects of the transaction, including details like prices and requested quantities. And actually in Cloud Blue, the whole process and life cycle of a subscription in general is started with a sales order. Why do I say in general? Because at the moment, there is a possibility of migrating from one platform to another. For example, from a dedicated platform that you have on-prem into a SaaS platform, CB SaaS platform. What we do is we can import the subscriptions. And those imports will not start with a sales order. These imports will start with a migration order because we migrate actually from one platform to the other. So existing subscriptions that you had in your old platform will, in that case, not start with a sales order. But in your case, since you are working on a dedicated platform in your environment, in your own data centers, your subscriptions at the moment will have a first order that is a sales order. Customer bought something. We provisioned it. Now there is a subscription with at least a sales order to it. Of course, over time, the customer can make changes to that subscription. What can he do? He can upgrade. He can go from a standard license to a premium license. That's a change. In normal speak, it is called an upgrade. But from an order perspective, it's a change. In older versions, we used to have upgrade orders and downgrade orders. The problem was that we did not really know what the better product and what the less good product was. And that means we only had one thing to define up and downgrade. That was the price. So if you went to a more expensive product with less features, it would still be considered an upgrade. So we got rid of that. And we just said, okay, let's call it a change order. It's a change whatsoever, right? Up, down, or added resources is also a change order. I'm staying within my service plan, but I want 2 more of the license, of that same license. It's, again, a change order. All those things can be found under the CH or change order in the order work in the order screen. I would say these two are created by a person. What do I mean with by a person? Why do I not say by a customer? Because it could also be assisted sales. It could be that a customer success manager has talked to the customer and that he places those orders on behalf of that customer, right? So it's still a person. It's either the customer success manager of that customer, or it is the customer himself that buys something new or makes a change to an existing subscription. And then we have, I need to do that one. Orders that are generated by the system. We call them billing orders. For every month when the customer needs to be paying for a subscription, those recurring fees for, let's say, a before billing period or after billing period scenario, there is a billing order. So if a customer has before billing period, bought a product of before billing period, he bought it for a year, there is a sales order, and then there are 11 billing orders. In the sales order, you pay for the first month, including setup fees and other things that need to be paid. And then every month, the system generates a billing order. And if the customer doesn't change it, that's all you will see about that subscription. Billing orders. Those billing orders will be generated automatically. It's the system that does it. You don't have to handle that. The problem is, of course, if the daily billing process fails, you can have the admins of the platform restart that process and it will continue where it left off. It will not double bill customers. The system will know which subscriptions have been billed and which subscriptions have not been billed yet. So if that process fails, you can kick off that process without issues. And that means that within a subscription lifecycle, as I said, in general, a subscription starts with a sales order for a specific subscription period. In this case, the pink line is the subscription period. It's more than one billing period, so we will have multiple billing orders along the way. And there might be somewhere along the way a change. If that happens, of course, the next billing order will contain that change as well when it comes to recurring billing. Let's say this change is for an extra license. So this billing order, instead of one license, now charges for 2 licenses. That's the automation you want behind a product like this, right? At the end of that subscription period, of course, depending on the configuration of the product itself, the system might generate a renewal order, or the customer himself can do that. And of course, a new subscription period starts, another ping bar, and over time, those billing orders come in. Let's say this product is set up to be auto-renewing. So at the end of this period, another renewal order would come in, et cetera, et cetera. And this customer says, hey, no, wait, I've had it with this product. I don't need it anymore. I've got a better product already purchased and I cannot upgrade. So I want to cancel one subscription and start a new one with a better product. That means that a cancellation order can be at some point set up. If the product, and that's a key thing, if the product is not set to automatically renew and the customer does not place a renewal order here, we don't need that cancellation order. The product will just stop at this point. Automatically ending. That's a key thing to remember. Some other types that we have that we just saw is the renewal and the cancellation order. Renewal, to keep it using, can be generated by the system. Let me go to my classic panel quickly and show you. Let's go to classic and go to the service plan. Any service plan in this case will do, because it's on the first page. Auto renewal, in this case, it is set and it is done, let's say 4 days before the last day of this subscription. An automatic renewal will be placed, meaning that unless the customer cancels his subscription, he will have a subscription to this service for the rest of the existence of this platform. Of course, he can switch off that auto renewal or request for that to be changed, so he fulfills his subscription and then it automatically stops. Or if that is allowed, he can cancel his subscription. Why do I say if that is allowed? Microsoft, and there are more vendors that are looking into that at the moment, but Microsoft already has it. They have cancellation policies. You cannot just cancel anywhere in your subscription life cycle. There are specific periods, specific moments that you're allowed to cancel. If you don't do it in that around that time, you have to fulfill at least that subscription period. And that's a key thing. Each of those orders can have a status. And of course, the status says where that order is in the entire order flow. You can imagine that for a sales order where the customer first needs to pay, you have to cash the money, make sure that the customer's worth his credit card. And then we hand it over to Microsoft for them to create the tenant, for them to create the licenses, et cetera, get information back. All those statuses tell me something where that order is in the process of being processed. Important status is new. New means, hey, this is a new order. Nobody has handled it yet. It's still waiting to start the process. There are reasons to do that. I can imagine, for instance, that a cancellation order. I want to be having a new status to verify with the customer, hey, you just canceled your subscription of 2 years Office 365, but you have your trial subscription still running. Did you cancel the correct subscription, or did you want to cancel the trial subscription and not the 2 years data containing subscription? That could be a reason to leave an order in the new status until you verified that. And of course, the desired status for an order to be in is in the completed status, because it means that everything that needs to be done has been done. Customer payment was made and I received it, and we were able to provision the service for that money, and we were able to hand it to the customer. So we both have done what we needed to do. Completed. And then there are a couple of, I would almost say, statuses that you need to look into. Let's call it that. No payment method attached. You can imagine that when a customer buys something, he will have to assign a method of payment for that specific order. If that is invoice, it's invoice, right? And in that case, everything will work. However, if that is a credit card, it will be automatically charged to that card. For everything that is interacting with a person, a sales order, a change order, maybe a cancellation order, the customer will have to make a choice. The billing orders are automatically generated. Let's say this customer bought that subscription with a credit card, and he bought it in January last year for 2 years, and his credit card expires in February 2024. You can imagine what happens if we reach March 2024. Because now all of a sudden, we want to charge a credit card that is not valid anymore. In that case, that order will go into no payment method attached, because we're not going to try to charge an expired credit card. Thing is that also that we probably have warned the customer 2 or 3 times that his card is about to expire and that we will have a problem charging for existing subscriptions. But it looks like the customer didn't do anything, so we have to call him. Hey, there are 2 options. We will stop all your services because you cannot pay us, at least not in the way that you said you would pay. Or you have to give us a new credit card. You can go into your control panel, feed the new card, etc., etc. You have 3 emails that should mention that. That is what no payment method attached tells me. Of course, another one could be waiting for payment. Waiting for payment could happen when, for instance, the credit card company decides that, hey, this looks like a fraudulent payment, and they stop there. They don't give feedback. Our system does not call. Waiting for payment means, hey, I cannot get, at least I don't get confirmation that the payment has been made. That's all there is to it. It could also be that there is an outage at the credit card company's APIs. I cannot get the money. We charged it. We're waiting for payment. We will retry a couple of times. If it doesn't work, we will go to the next status, which is provisioning failed. Provisioning failed is not always the fact that provisioning itself failed on Microsoft side. It could also mean that the order has failed because we cannot get the money, because we retried a couple of times for waiting for payment and we were not able to reach Stripe. We were not able to reach MasterCard or Visa or whatever. But in that case, you would probably have seen a couple of waiting for payment statuses already. So you would probably know where it went wrong. And then the last thing is hold. Hold means that probably the account of that customer was put on hold. Put on hold means we've seen that customer did not pay his last 3 bills, so we have put him on credit hold. If you don't pay, you cannot use your services, but you also cannot buy new stuff. Right? It's weird to have somebody buy new stuff while he still has 3 months of payments outstanding. So that's where hold comes in. And there are a couple more that are good to know about and good to see where where the issue lies. Waiting for payment and payment method not attached is something in the payment status of that scenario. So let's go back to slide 5 here quickly. So those things go wrong in this phase. No, I want to go here. Then we've got provisioning issues, long-running operation, manual operation required, or provisioning failed. Those are things that happen in the next phase, in the provisioning process, etc., right? So there are a couple of things that you might want to look into. Fraud filters, waiting for approval. It's a suspected thing. You can build a fraud filter that returns different statuses as well. And if it's not, if an order is not validated, or if a customer is not eligible for something, it goes into a waiting for approval status or into a suspected status, and you have to look up and have contact with the customer. Account issues, the account is on hold. Like I said, customer didn't pay his bills, so now we put him on hold and say, hey, this is where it ends. We have been charging for money 3 months. You still haven't paid that first of the 3 months, so we put you on hold. Meaning that all orders that customer places will go on hold as well. The TM status is manual customer account verification. It's a legal thing. An example would be in Germany, where if you put in your VAT number as a customer, somebody from the seller, from the reseller in this case, will have to go to the Chamber of Commerce systems and verify if that VAT number matches the other information you have given. So there is some extra, let's say, strict legislation. Probably it only happens once at the creation of the account, or maybe at the change of the VAT number, but you don't do that very often. I'm coming to your question in a second. And the last one is waiting for completion of account registration. Let's say the first subscription that I buy is a free trial subscription. I'm not asking you to fill out all details if you only have a trial subscription. So I might only ask the most necessary information. What is your email address? What password do you want to use? Period. However, the moment you either convert that trial subscription or into a paid one, or you buy a second paid subscription from within your control panel, we need the rest of your information. We need your billing address. We need et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's also a use case that could happen. If the customer does this, the customer will be forced to do that at that moment. So it will not stall there. However, if that customer calls their customer success manager that has been assigned to them during that trial, and that customer success manager will add that additional order, that order is going to stall in WC, and that customer success manager needs to ask the customer to log in and make sure that everything is filled out. I see a hand. Gustavo, tell me.
Yes, we were trying to make an automatic registration process in our web portal, and I would like to know how to configure the account that were created with that process with some of these flags. As an example, to wait for approval, or to manual customer account verification, or to let them to try some of the services, but not to buy some of the...
No, those are not flags you can just set. Those are resulting statuses if the customer creates an order. So manual account verification required is a setting in the customer class and in the country settings of the customer so that when a customer places his first order, that information is requested. It's not something I can flag a customer account to. It's always a result.
Because we have made some verification with our CRM, and most of the customers that registers from our portal web doesn't have all the verification that we need. And we have some services that are charged for usement. So we would like to have another type of control, and perhaps one of these stage will help me to review those customers.
Yeah, the problem is that you set it for all customers
You
or
could
all
use
orders.
the order flow. You could use the order flow. You could use
Yeah,
you could put a customized item in the order flow.
I know. The problem is that you will set it for all orders of that specific type and not for just new customers, which means that if you set somewhere a manual status change, every single order of that type needs to be validated by somebody from the customer success team. And
it depends on the script that you put in this interference. You could use inside of the script of interference, you could do an if or something like that will cause two different statuses, go to right or go to left, and then. Well, anyway, but it's too complicated. It's in the admin course, not here, I believe.
Yeah, it's an admin thing, absolutely. But like I said before, there are ways of doing it, but it's not a setting that you set on a customer account, sadly.
Okay, but if I define a customer class for those customers, and perhaps after the verification, could I change them for another class?
Yeah, you can do that. That is one thing. Like I said, let me show you here. I've got one customer here. Let me quickly create a secondary customer class. Add new demo 2. Let's leave the rest as it is. So now I have one customer, and that customer is in, where are we? Customer classes. Here we are. Here we have it, customer class. And it's in the default class. If I want to, I can change it to the demo 2 class. That would work. And you could set in, and then you have to go back with what Ana Paula said. You can go in and change your order flows where there is a condition based on which customer class the customer is in, to pause it somewhere, make the changes, approve it, and then go into the customer and change them to the let's say to another class. The downside of it is that it's a lot of manual work that I'm not sure if it is feasible to do it in a production environment on a daily basis, but it is technically possible.
Okay, and is there any way to set for a particular service this kind of order status?
Yeah, you can. Again, basically with the same condition in an order flow. The first order flow you can go into, you can say, okay, this from the new status, which is almost always the beginning of a new order. If the product is this and this, or if it's in this sales category, or if it's in this plan category, you do this, and then you continue. Again, it has to do with changing the order flows. It's possible. Okay. Again, what I see you wanting, though, would probably make the platform almost unmanageable and untroubleshootable, because now you have, for a single order type, you have so many order flow transitions that you can imagine that if something goes wrong, it takes you ages to troubleshoot it. So be careful with what you want in this case, because yes, we can customize everything for every single product, for every single customer class. But if things go wrong and you have to wade through all those customizations to fix what is there, the chances are that it's not doable anymore. So be very careful about what options you or what doors you open in this case, because the flexibility is huge, because probably anything you ask, I can say, yes, it can be done with order flows, customizations, etc., etc. The downside of it is, however, that for every, you have to have a gazillion pages of customization documentation to go through. Okay, what customer type is it? What product type is it? What other thing is it? Before you can even start troubleshooting in the platform. And that makes the platform, first of all, it slows down the platform. And second, I always like that, right? If it does something automatic in my picture. And secondary, it's also almost undoable to maintain it over time.
Okay, the thing is that most of my services are paid in advance, and I set a limit to the customers that are created automatically through the portal web. So that works fine, but I have another services that are paid for use. So the verification that I made to let the customer place an order doesn't work there. So I am trying to understand which other tools I have there in CloudBlue to try to avoid frauds with the automatic customers.
Yeah, I would almost say this is not something you want to do in order flows. This sounds like something you want to fix by using fraud filters and fraud screening, where you can be more flexible. We have a complete fraud SDK where you can build or have people build your own fraud filters based on customer type, based on product type, etc., etc. That is better maintainable than working through order flows.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's see. The order process. How would it look? Well, of course, depending on the order, we have, of course, the two main points. We've got a new order and we've got order completed, and anything could happen in between. Hopefully, we have a scenario where in the meantime, in the intermediate steps, we have green on every single scenario. The customer details are there, are correct. Order details are correct. Payment method is there. Payment has been received. Provisioning worked, and the invoice is created, so we have an order completed. The problem is that, of course, we know that it's still an IO. Let me, by the way, show my screen. It's an IT platform. That means that sometimes things don't go as expected, or we have people not filling out all the details. So we have our order that's in the new status, so we see it as NW. Either automatically we open it, or manually we open that product, customer details. They should be okay. Let's be honest. I mean, the customer fills out the mandatory fields. We don't check the content of those fields, but all the mandatory fields have to be filled out before he even can place that order. So that should be an okay thing. Same thing for order details. We have an automated system, so the customer will have to somehow select what is minimal included. The system will automatically add what is required on other basis. So the order details are also good. Now we start the processing. And the first thing we see is payment method not attached. Customer did have a, let's say, an expired credit card. Customer, we see that because it's not a completed order. So we tell the customer, we call the customer, support does that, or the customer calls you and says, hey, I ordered something an hour ago and I still don't have it. Normally it's there in 5 minutes. Well, you have an expired credit card. You have to go into your control panel, fix it, and we will continue. So customer goes in, puts his credit card information in. This one goes to green, and we go to the next step. We go to waiting for payment or waiting for approval, depending on the scenario, and the payment fails. So we go back to the customer, or the customer comes back to us, and we troubleshoot. If we know that, for instance, we have an issue with reaching Stripe because there is a denial of service attack on Stripe or something like that, we can already warn the customer, hey, this we see at this moment, right? We see that if you use Stripe, there might be a delay because we see that Stripe is under attack. We've noticed that from previous orders. So be aware that there might be a delay. Payment fails. Eventually, Stripe is fixing the issue. We're going to provisioning. We go into a long-running operation because we send it to Microsoft, and Microsoft starts provisioning, and we don't wait for the answer, but we continue. And every once in a while, we go back and say, hey, is this item done already? Yes or no? If it's not, we come back over time. We do that a couple of times, and eventually, when it takes us too long, or we have to ask too often, we go into a long-running operation. That means that service is not provisioned yet. So either we troubleshoot, we escalate on the Microsoft side, or whatever we do for that, depending on what the issue is, what the feedback is we get from the system. It's fixed. We send the invoice, or we generate the invoice, and we send it to the customer, and then we have a completed order. That is how a generic flow goes. So where do we see this information? We see this in what we call the order workspace. And the order workspace is a classic panel thing most of the time. Under operations, there's orders, and here we have our order workspace. Normally, there would be a list of orders. In my scenario, there is very little. I see that this one is in the status provisioning failed. I see a yellow bar here with a possible reason. I have to read that one. This is for support. And I can see the status history. Here I see all those intermediate statuses that my order had. Subscription price configuration. This one is automatically open, so there is no new status. Configuration, order details, tax calculation, and we start order processing, and we open the order. We verify if the account is happy. We do some payment method if it's okay, and if it's done, we do some fraud screening. If fraud screening is completed and nothing further is required, we go and charge the credit card for it. This is, for us at least, the most logical order, because I don't want to charge a card where afterwards I see that it's fraud, right? So we do fraud screening first, and then we do card charging. Do we need to provision something, or is it just a send out an email? In this case, we have to provision something. We send it to the actual system. And every once in a while, we go back to see if provisioning was successful or failed. It wasn't there yet. Provisioning is in progress. And here we go again. We check if provisioning failed, and now it has failed. So here you see that some cycles can repeat. Did it fail? No, it didn't fail yet. It's still busy. It's also not successful. So we wait and come back after some time. You see the timestamps here. You see who made changes to this item. I placed that order. Here you see Eric admin. And for the rest, it is all automated. Here I can see the statuses. I can go in and check some details, but the most important detail of this order is on the general tab where we have this information. So for troubleshooting, this is where you go. Let me go back to my slide deck and show you the workspace. Under orders, we have at provider level, we have more tabs. I didn't look at them all. We've got a search bar if needed. If you want to search for a specific customer, or if that customer has an order number for you, you can search for that order and verify what is there. You can look at order statuses and filter on it. So there's a lot to see on this one. If you click that order, any order, you will see the details. This is a change order that is in the completed status with the date there and what the change was. And also, each order has multiple tabs where, of course, the status history in failure cases is an important one, because where did it go wrong? Details of that order and that demo I already did. So what are the things that can be seen here? Where can I find order details such as the invoice? Go to the order and you can find the information. But what is important, invoices are created at the end of the process. So if the order is not in the completed status, you won't see the invoice information yet. Sometimes, like standard cancellation orders, are stalling in the new status. So what do? You open that order, you double click that order, and then there is an open order button. The moment you click that open order button, it will start processing it. If there is a billing order, I could need to, let's say, update or correct that billing order. How do you do that? You go into that billing order and specify that you need to correct it. There is a create correction button, and then you can give the customer money back, and the new billing order will be created. New invoice will be created. Let's say the customer had a pay-as-you-go item, and he was able to prove that he paid more than he was charged for. You can correct that order and either give him a credit memo or give him the actual money back, depending on if he already paid. An account on hold is what I already explained, right? An unprocessed order is in the hold status. Most of the time, this requires, of course, some investigation. Why is it on hold? Is the account on hold on credit hold, or is the account on hold on administrative hold? Administrative hold could even mean that there is some legal issue with that customer. At that point, the moment that the customer pays his bills, automatically all orders in the hold status will automatically also start processing again. We have orders without payments, the no payment method attached. As I said, there is no default payment method. Probably means that the customer's credit card has been has either been blocked or has been has expired. And then there are provisioning issues. Well, yeah, long-running operation. What could be the reason? And this is where what the troubleshooting flow is. Go to that order. First, my first recommendation is read this yellow thing. And most of the time, this means that it is for the admin to figure this out. In this case, there is an API method to create a tenant that has not functioned. There is no endpoint found. So it's probably a configuration item that somebody needs to fix. It might be that routing has changed, that the other side of the fence, the API of the vendor is not reachable, or they made a change that they forgot to reflect in their integration. Those kind of things could happen. But most of the time you need your logs to figure out more. So most of the time it is the admins that go into this. So what questions do you have so far? Let me pull up this one and go here. So what questions do you have so far? If none, I would like to thank you for being here today. I see you on Wednesday, same time, same place. And have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for attention. Thank you for your explanations, Eric.
Thank you, guys. I will make sure that I gather up all the recordings and I share them at the end of the training. Is that okay?
Perfect. Thank you, Eric.
Okay.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a
Eric.
nice lunch,
Bye.
you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.